I'll let you introduce yourself because I don't know a ton about your background, except the reason I've been drawn to you is from the motivation side. You live what I see as the life we should live, physically and mentally. I love following what you do on social media, but the thing that really got my attention, and this is how I found you, was I'm in the front row, wearing an orange shirt at Billy's event, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And of course, I paid more to sit in the front row because I was in the one-on-one program with Billy, so I got to ask a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but you're on stage with Billy, and I said, what is it that you attribute Billy's fast track from where he was, like at the time where I was at, and like 4 years later, just this gigantic
crushing
figure.
it, yeah.
And you said speed of execution.
Yeah.
You said, we'll all be in a meeting talking about ideas, and we'll all leave, and like we all are thinking we're gonna get this thing done in a month. And like a half hour later, Billy texts us a link and the video and it adds up, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And literally that, to me, was something that held me back because I was always looking for perfection.
Yeah.
And even video. I had a video that I did. Anybody here knows me now. I mean, I think I've done 10 videos a day. I do.
It's amazing.
100 plus videos
you see
a week.
Video all the time, yeah.
Back then I didn't. And what got me to that point was your conversation. And then also I literally did a video that was a 2-minute video, started at 8 o'clock at night in my green room at my house. I got done at 2 a.m. because I was striving for perfection. Yeah. And I finally just done. I'm going live on videos. I don't even care about the mess ups. But when you said that, I'm not even joking, I opened my computer up. I had a ClickFunnels funnel I had built for my flash drive program that Billy had helped me with. I clicked publish, I turned the ad on. By that night, I had 7 sales. And I'm like, yes!
That's
and I'm like,
awesome.
Oh shit, I haven't built the flash drive. And so I was in San Diego until Sunday with the event, got home, blocked off all of Monday. Because I had it in my head what my top 10 restaurant campaigns were, but I had actually never put it on paper. But that caused me to take massive action.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years, that's what I've become, in my mind, I just do stuff and I break it and I fail quick. So that's how I know you. So
That's
I guess
awesome.
Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and
all right, who I am and what I do. Well, I've been, I think, relevant to this crew. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur, my whole career, essentially. I think like many of you, I caught the bug, and it was something that I could not, just literally could not deny. I mean, I had a job right after college. I was a miserable employee. I laugh now when I think back about it because I've had so many employees now, and I'm so fucking hard on employees. And I say that, I think one of the things I'm really proud of is I've built good cultures, in my teams, and I have a lot of real loyalty from my teams that people that have been in touch for, decades. But the bug just caught me early on. And I can remember like my first jobs, like I would literally take a nap. My first job, I would take a nap at my desk. And tell my boss about it. I was like, no, I need some downtime, man. I was just a miserable employee, and it was just because if it wasn't my everything on the line, if it wasn't 100% on my back, on my shoulders, then it just did not motivate me. And that's always been the case. So I was in Silicon Valley in the first .com bubble, knew nothing about technology, but just caught that fever and just kind of threw myself into it. Ended up starting an IT services company out there. Had a mentor that had one of the first, I don't know if maybe there's some people old enough here to remember, DSL was one of the first fast, high-speed internet service connections. So he had started the infrastructure for that, but was using it for something totally different, not actually as a business, and gave me that infrastructure and said, if you can build something with it, I'll just take a percentage of whatever you can do. So I ended up building that business, selling it for a very small amount of money, not a ton, and then went to business school to get my MBA at Babson. Started then a company immediately after that, which is another IT management company, but kind of doing it in a whole different way. Built that up for 8 years, sold that, had a nice exit from that. And then did marketing automation business. And that, we all, if you're in this game long enough, you get all the ups and downs, right? So that one was a wild success until my partner in it defaulted on somewhere in the neighborhood of $270 million. And I didn't even know. I was playing way too fast and loose because I had a good relationship with this guy, and he's a really good guy. I feel terrible for him to this day. But he was putting in the money to grow the company. He was in India, had a massive team for his company in India, all this type of stuff, defaulted, and literally called me up one night and said there's no more money. And we were in talks to raise $100 million valuation for this business because it was just high flying, and just disappeared, gone. I've literally heard from him once since that day. And the problem is when you have an investor or a partner in a company that's put in a bunch of money in the company, he lives in India and he disappears and you literally can't get in touch with him. Nobody wants to touch that, right? No investors want to refinance you. Nobody wants to buy the business. So I ended up just running that business and winding it down. It took like 6 years to do that. And during that time as well, then I've been doing all kinds of marketing stuff, ecommerce stuff, information publishing, training, all that stuff. I've just enjoyed the online marketing stuff. I have 3 daughters, so I have a family, all that good stuff. Moved out to San Diego almost 5 years ago now, just for the lifestyle, and love that. And let's see here, entrepreneurship, just kind of nut business, just kind of fanatic, love everything about it, love talking about it, studying it, all that type of stuff. Health, fitness, travel. I think that pretty much sums it up. So.
Okay, so I guess my first question, because one of the things that sticks out to me is the fitness side of it.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that play a role as far as helping you do what we do every day?
So it's interesting. I think how it helps to me, it's everything. I mean, if I eat well and I exercise consistently, I feel like I'm bulletproof. I do. I don't struggle with stress. I sleep well at night. It's amazing. If I don't have that consistency, if I don't eat well and I don't exercise well, even just for 5 days or something like that, I really start to notice it. And where I notice it is my mental health. And so, yeah, when I have that consistency, everything just works better. I mean, my energy feels better. I sleep better at night. Everything, confidence, all that type of stuff is just better. The motivation, one, I have always been driven for whatever, I don't even know why, I've always been driven to be like a really strong, healthy old guy. I don't know why. Like, Senior Olympics motivates the shit out of me. Like the regular Olympics was never really like a thing to me. Senior Olympics, I'm like, man, I'm gonna crush the fucking Senior Olympics. I have no idea why. But
see, I'm the opposite, because I jokingly say that in the CrossFit world,
yeah,
in a few years, I'm gonna be legally able to compete as I identify as a 14-year-old girl, and I'm gonna dominate them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just my call.
But my dad, on the negative motivation, my dad died very young of a heart attack. Okay. And so it's just one of those things that's just always, driven me just to, and I've gotten even more into it in the last few years. Just the whole, the measurement and kind of the biohacking and all that type of stuff. Like, it's just a game to me. I mean, that's the way I like to run a business. I have what I call a daily scorecard. Daily scorecard is just a simple spreadsheet, but just whatever are my most key metrics, I make sure that they're filled in every day and I see them every single day. And it's the same thing with fitness. I kind of take that same approach and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I have a similar fitness. Is that my dad? I remember when I was a kid. When he was 38, he was diagnosed with adult onset diabetes, and it's just, they said it was stress and nutrition. I mean, he's a hard worker, consummate entrepreneur, salesperson, entrepreneur, but all of his clients were restaurants and car dealers when he had his big insurance agency. He had a couple hundred clients. He was killing it, doing real well back in the 80s, but he ate out every night and drank every night. And I remember when I was a kid that I couldn't play basketball in the backyard with Dad because he had 3 ACL surgeries. He was 100 pounds overweight. And so it's like me, like my son and my daughter always ask like why I'm so into fitness. And I'm like, so I can still kick your ass. Like my son, like it's kind of comical.
Totally.
My friends of mine think there's something wrong with me. But there's a video of me dunking on my son last year, and I bloodied his lip, and I'm like over top of him in our pool. Yeah. It's on a pool. It's like 5 foot rim. So I say dunking. But like talking trash.
Still a dunk, man.
And I'm like, Cole, I'm going to do this shit until you're like 40. You put that down because I'm going to be in shape.
That's awesome. I love it.
But no, I think it helps. For me.
I think it totally does. Yeah.
I noticed that I went to, this isn't a complaint, but I was gone on a 9-day ski trip and a 4-day ski trip and 9 days in Hawaii over the course of I think 4 weeks. Like I was home like 2 days. And it was weird. The skiing to me isn't really exercise. It comes easy. But I didn't go to the gym. I love Olympic lifting. And I didn't do it for almost 4 weeks. And it took me a good 2 weeks in January when I got back to get in a rhythm because I just felt like I was a slug.
Yeah.
You didn't exercise in Hawaii. You just laid around.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I get it. And yeah, when you get out of that rhythm, I mean, it takes its toll. You can definitely feel it.
So tell about the scorecard. That intrigues me. You got this daily scorecard.
Daily scorecard, yeah. So I don't know, has anybody heard of Jack Stack? I always like to try and share my favorite resources and people I've learned from. If you haven't, I mean, you would all benefit from go and study his stuff. He has a book called The Great Game of Business, but more importantly now, he has this amazing training program around his philosophy. So he is a entrepreneur. He took over a manufacturing plant in Springfield, Missouri, that was essentially supporting the whole town. I mean, it was the jobs, in that city at the time. And the conglomerate that owned it was shutting it down. So everybody's losing their jobs, losing their homes, all that type of stuff. So he said, "Hey, I'll take over the business so people can take their jobs." He's like, I don't have 2 nickels to rub together. So you guys have just got to give it to me. I'll assume all the debt, all that stuff. So he literally just assumed all the debt for this manufacturing plant and took it over. And the way that he turned it around is now the foundation of this system that he teaches on how to run a business. And it's based around a concept called open book management. And the idea is, hey, at this plant, he had hundreds of people working at this plant. So the concept was just, hey, these people know their individual things and the costs associated with what they're doing, all that stuff, better than I ever will, sitting at the top of this. So I need to get the information from them. In order to get the information from them and make it meaningful, I need to tell them why the information that they're giving me is important so they know what to do with it, that type of thing. So what he'd do is he'd have a daily huddle, and it's the great game of business. He would have a daily huddle, and he would bring the key people from every department together, and he'd say, hey, look, tell me your numbers. Like, I need cleaning supplies to be no more than $1,000, a day or whatever it was, right? So now the head of the janitorial services would understand, why we can't spend more money on, so he would get everybody together and he would say, look, we've got these debt payments to pay down to keep everybody's job. I have to hit that number by this date and this month, or the bank just closes everything. We all lose our jobs. So everybody, got involved. And then once they paid down the debt, then it was, well, now look, we can afford to pay bonuses. So I'm going to take this much of the profit, put it into a bonus pool. Here's how your numbers impact your bonus. So everybody is engaged and involved. And that just made so much sense to me. And I adopted that philosophy. He now has, last I heard, he has like 36 different companies that he runs in Springfield, Missouri that are all running this exact same model of management. And he's built a whole training program around it where you can go and he'll take you around to the various businesses and you can watch them do their huddle. You can talk to the employees and ask them about what does their metric mean to them and why is it important. It's really inspiring and really cool. But so anyway, so the idea is then every single day you've got, for him, it was essentially a full P&L that he has on the wall. And every day they'd fill in line item by line item their P&L. For me, that was, a little much. I tried that at some points, but what it ended up being was a daily scorecard where I honed it down to, hey, here are our key metrics. Right now, I've got to drive recurring revenue. I've got to drive, whatever the most key metrics. And then you would just every day just fill in those key metrics so that, one, it's just visibility. It's just awareness. Just like anything. Like if you're just aware of it, you're going to improve it, right? That's your personality as an entrepreneur. So just bringing that awareness, having the numbers staring you in the face every single day. And it's nothing more complicated than that, but it's literally one of the most powerful things that I think you can do. No matter what you're trying to do with your business right now, you pick those key metrics and every single day you're staring at them in the face. Or they're staring you in the face. Yeah, so you're aware of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, my dad has a referral marketing that he teaches salespeople and entrepreneurs, and he's got a referral scorecard. And the concept is these are like 20 things you should be consistently doing every day. And you're going to see that as you score higher and higher consistently in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's going to pay dividends because you've done the right activities. I'm sure this same thing that if I'm looking at my metrics on my recurring revenue or my collectibles or my payables and things like that, and collections, that I can pay attention to it more often. I'm going to concentrate on getting better.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like, I mean, I don't know how many people here have hired and managed salespeople.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so a bunch of, and unfortunately, because hiring and managing salespeople is typically a pain in the ass and very expensive. And I've had a whole bunch of salespeople at my IT services business. I had a lot of them at one time. And it's the most expensive thing in the world to have salespeople that are unproductive. And one of the things that I learned from managing salespeople is that the best salespeople, and fortunately, I met a couple of those. I had the good luck of hiring a handful of those. The best ones know that they don't finish their day until they've hit a certain metric. Like, I have to make 100 calls today. I have to connect with 20 people today, whatever it is. And they just don't get their ass out of their seat and call it a day until that's done. And that means they're dialing at 9:30 at night. They're still dialing. And that discipline, if you're going to manage salespeople, if you're going to hire and manage salespeople, you have to manage them that way or you're screwed. Like, you're just going to lose your shirt. So I learned that. But then it's interesting because as entrepreneurs, most of us value freedom. Like, when you ask an entrepreneur, why are you an entrepreneur? It's like the number one reason, more than money, right? It's freedom. The amazing benefits that come from freedom and your ability to call your own shots and decide what you're doing every day are so incredible and so rewarding, right? But the downside of that is that we can oftentimes lose the discipline that comes from, really, honestly, having a boss. Having somebody that's riding your ass and telling you, hey, you have to hit this number every day or you're not getting your paycheck or you're not getting your bonus or you're not going home today or whatever. And having that daily scorecard, having those key metrics and stuff like that to me creates that kind of accountability. For me, where I've got those numbers, I've got those metrics that I've got to have them staring me in the face, and I've got to, report to somebody, whoever that, whether you've got a peer group, a mastermind group, your spouse, your significant other, whatever it is that you're going to be able to look at in the face and go, okay, yeah, I hit my metrics. That kind of discipline, I think that's how you earn the freedom, right?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Who was here Sunday night? I mentioned about when I worked in radio, that I had a rule. I would not leave my office until this is back in 99 to 03, I would not leave the office until I made contact with 25 decision makers most days. Yeah. And I had my list, even though I was in Cincinnati in the West Coast, there wasn't a whole lot. I had my emergency list of West Coast numbers, because if it got 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'm calling somebody. Yeah. I'm going to talk to a guy that's in charge of a homeless camp if I have to, because I got to talk 25. Yeah. Because I knew if I talked to 25 got me 5 meetings, 5 meetings got me to presentations.
It's numbers, yeah, absolutely.
But that's cool that you say that, because that really makes me think probably my biggest negative right now. For 8 years of my agency, I had 4 of it me, and then I hired Ashley, who still works for me now, going on her 8th year. And when I hired her from day one back in, I guess she's been with me 8 years now, so whatever that is, 2011, I just literally threw her some account logins and said, hey, do this and make it look better than what I would do. And she never had any instruction from me for 8 years. And now we're at a point where
super common.
3 years ago, it was still me and her. Then we added Mark, and then we added Sam and Hunter and Joey and Logan and Hawk and Peter and now Tanya. And I wrote down the other day a note to myself I'm trying to read every day, is I've got to be a better leader, because I've been so damn loose with things. Yeah,
it's easy.
Easy
to do.
Because I'm like that.
Yeah.
And that's something I got to get better at. And the other thing you mentioned too, which is I think a lot of us fail to do, I own a gym as well. And we've got 7 trainers. And we have open meetings every week where I tell the trainers, please let me know when you're leaving to open your own gym. Because it happens. And what happens in the CrossFit world is, like, every gym is opened off another, and there's a lot of animosity. I'm like, and my partner's like, why are you so open with it? I'm like, because I love entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
If
it's going to happen.
If all of you don't want to leave and be your own thing, and maybe you want to be an hourly, that's fine. Yeah. But there's a good chance you don't. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I'll be your partner. Maybe I can
invest in it, help you with the marketing. Yeah.
But I think that's something we all have to embrace too, because a lot of us, when you hire salespeople, that was my biggest problem. We had a boat and RV dealership. We had 45 employees. And the joke was, we had a consultant come in. Every employee that Matt Plapp had ever hired was fired. Yeah. Because I was apparently hiring a bunch of me's.
Yeah.
And when I work with me, I'm like, don't like you that much.
Yeah. I've done that too. Yeah, absolutely. You hire your image, that you want in the company versus hiring what you actually need. So
talk about, like, most of the people in here are small ad agencies.
Yeah.
Most people have probably, who in here is sole person, one person? Who in here has 2 or 3, 4 employees? So what is it that you've seen that is going to help people in here? Like, what are 1 or 2, 3 key elements that you know, like what Billie Jean? Like, I look back, I literally jokingly tell myself, I look back at 2 people that I look back that I know that I was doing it before them and I should have been them, but you look forward. Gary Vee, I mean, not to say I'm in his world, but I can look back and I've been doing that crap since before him. Yeah. And I look at Billy and I'm like, my God, he, when I was a kid, no. Yeah. I look at Billy. What are they? What are those guys doing? What got them to get to that level?
I think with Billy, it's interesting. I mean, you can learn so much from him. I love that guy to death. It's also, I think, somewhat dangerous because he's such a force of nature. You know what I mean? That he can do shit that some of us just aren't ever going to be able to do. Yeah. It's like watching LeBron James on a basketball court or something. It's like no matter what I do, I'm not going to be able to go out there and do that, right? So to me, I think it's important to look at the things that are kind of fundamentals that can apply across any agency, no matter who's running it, right? And before I started my IT services business that I built was selling to small businesses, the exact same market. And that's how I got into agency services and stuff like that, was selling to the exact same market. There are a handful of things that I think apply no matter what. If you're selling to small businesses, no matter what you're selling, that have to be there if you want to grow quickly and build something that has real wealth and asset value and profitability. One is you've got to have recurring revenue. Your business just has to be based on recurring revenue. If it's not, I don't, if anybody's here telling me that I'm doing project work, that's my model and I'm going to make it work and they are profitable, and you can argue with me until we fall over on this floor dead. Like you will not convince me. We'll do all the numbers, we'll do whatever you want to do. You won't convince me. Find me a project work-based business selling to small businesses anywhere in the world that has any significant size, has created any significant wealth. You just won't. It's got to be recurring revenue. So recurring revenue is the foundation. To accelerate growth more than anything, I think it's channels. And so that's what Billie Jean did well, is he tapped into a handful of channels with the major franchises and stuff like that. You can see, there's a number of agencies that are doing a good job of that, and you're doing that with restaurants and stuff right now, right? So there's a number of people doing it with gyms, and that type of thing. Finding a population of businesses that are similar enough that they've already been collected. They have trade shows, they have newsletters, magazines, direct mail, whatever it is, so that you can tap into somebody else who's already gathered that audience. That's the way I grew mine super, super fast, that software, marketing automation business. It's by tapping into existing channels. The reality is that the cost of selling, the cost of aggregating an audience is so freaking expensive and poorly accounted for by most people. They don't really understand the expense of it. So if you can tap into somebody else that's already done that, get them to email your offer, get them to send people to your webinar, mail out your video, whatever it is, you're just taking a dramatic shortcut. So that's a major thing. Having the right margins for your services. I actually wrote an email about this today. Most people they don't understand margins. And the example that I like to use, and I used my email today, is if you have 50% gross margins, who here honestly knows the difference between gross margins and net margins? Like, we won't have any bullshit, like you're just gonna confidently say, Mike, this is it. Okay, so there's like 4 people, right? So as an entrepreneur, you've gotta freaking know the numbers of accounting or you're in trouble. Yeah. So go get, if you want, I'll tell you the best book in the world to get, because it's super basic, I love it, and it teaches how to understand financials. The difference between 50% gross margins and 65% gross margins, most people go, oh, it's just 15%. Like, that's their mindset, it's just 15%. The difference between 50% gross margins and 65% gross margins is most likely doubling or tripling the profitability of your business. The difference in how you get 50% to 65% gross margins is another one that tweaks people's brains, because the way you get 50% gross margins is if your service costs $5 for you to deliver, you sell it for $10, you double the price. In order for you to get 65% gross margins, you're gonna multiply it 2.5 or 3 times, right, to get that number. So in order to get those numbers to work, the math is just something that they're not familiar enough with. And so you're just leaving massive amounts of margin on the table if you're not aware of it and familiar with it. And that takes all the energy from your business. If you don't have the gross margins, you can't afford the marketing. You can't afford to do the ad campaigns like Billie Jean can, right? So that's a massive, massive thing to make sure that you get right. And then,
what was the book there? You mentioned a book on.
Oh, it's called How to Read a Financial Report. And when you find it on Amazon, you'll be like, what is this guy telling me to get? Because it's this little red covered, like it's got a goofy little animation on the cover. And it's so funny because I relied on that thing for years. It was my Bible. And then I went to get my MBA, and it's the #1 MBA program in the world for entrepreneurs, Babson. And the first day in the finance class, I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna show anybody that I have this book with me, because it was like in my bag, right? And the professor, thank God, gets up in the front of the class and goes, everybody has to get this book, it's required reading. I was like, oh, thank God. So it's a great book. You can get on Amazon for, whatever it is, $9. So if you're going after a vertical, restaurants or gyms or whatever it is, so that you can tap into the channel, so you can accelerate sales, then the service itself has to be something that you can make as cookie cutter as possible in your delivery, in your consistency of your costs, all that type of stuff, so that you can scale it. And the trick is to still make people feel like they're getting the value of somebody who actually gives a shit about them and is giving them some hand holding and all that type of thing, making them feel that way. But the delivery of it is just as consistent and cookie cutter as possible. Like, I think those are the major things. You package all that together, and you can grow a business fast. And that's what, Billie Jean, like I said, he went after certain, businesses, got tapped into franchises where they then introduced him to all the other franchises, and he had a very consistent, service delivery process and blew it up. So.
Yeah, that's what really got me, because when I met Billy, I think my peak was right around 34 clients from 31 industries. Mm-hmm. And I always took pride in that I had this width of knowledge. But then I look back now, and I was doing, to be honest, the businesses I was working with, the different types of companies, I was 10 times more knowledgeable than them at what I was doing with YouTube and Facebook and blogs and websites. Yep. But when I also look back, I was doing them a disservice, because I had one car dealer, for example, with 44 locations. And I was doing certain things for him. But what I hated looking back now, where my biggest mistake was, I would get a great idea with him, and I would leave and go to a restaurant, and nothing carried over.
Right.
And I'd leave the restaurant and go to a nutrition store, nothing carried over. Go to a gym, a chiropractor. And that's one thing I really got me thinking back then. And that's what Billy was like, dude, you have to harness that, but also harness the ability, like Ashley, who has worked for me now for 8 years, and now the rest of the team, that, like Ashley, I don't know how she did it back then, because I remember looking back when we went to hire, when Billy gave me some advice, I need to hire 5 people, because basically like part-timers, I came up with this plan to do 10 interns, to 5 part-timers, to 2 full-timers. And I had her list out everything she did for my agency. It was just me and her for like 8 years at this point. And I looked at this spreadsheet, I'm like, oh shit, you do all this?
Yeah.
And she just goes, yeah. And looked down at the ground. And it was, I'm talking 40, we had 34 clients, and one guy had 45 car dealerships. And so it was Google, Twitter, LinkedIn, owner's personal Facebook, and it just kept going, and all the things that happened within there.
Yeah.
And that's what really was eye-opening to me. I'm like, wow, yeah, we know how to do a lot of stuff, but we're not awesome. Yeah. And now I look at the restaurants, and I got an interview, or was it this Friday, 2 days, with a company that's got 100 plus locations. And we did one location. I started from the bottom. Yeah. Started with one guy and said, hey, I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to take a little more power, give you a little more value. And somebody said, well, how do you get referrals to these franchises? I'm like, because that person at that corporate office, her phone is hooked up to the same page I'm running.
Yeah.
And so within 3 days of us running our program, I get an email.
Right.
And she's like, hey, I'd like to have a conversation. I said, what's going on? Do you know what I do? She goes, Matt, I've got 100 plus locations I'm admins on. Your program in a couple days I had to figure out how to turn every alert on my phone off.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do, but apparently what you're doing is doing more than 100 locations combined.
Yeah.
The only reason I can do that is that, like you said, I found a very niche. I found pizza restaurants in the fast casual space, and I run one product.
Yep. That's it. Yeah. Absolute focus like that, because then it's just repeatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about taking action, because that's something that even myself, I look back at it now, and I used to, when we had the boat dealership, I probably took action a little too damn quick. Like I remember going to the dealership one time to get the oil changed in our dually because we bought a 53-foot trailer to pull behind the dually for fishing shows. And I left with 3 cars. And I got back and there were 3 really cool looking cars. It's been $150,000.
Yeah.
And I got a new cool car, the Corvette truck they had, the SSR. My dad got a brand new Suburban. And then we had a brand new dually.
Yeah.
And of course, they were all logoed up. And I look back and I'm like, well, sometimes I took a little too quick of action.
Yeah.
Talk about like that imperfect action, because like that's what I've actually become so mentally tough at now that I don't really give a shit if I mess up.
I know, and that I'm the same way. It's funny. I think it's a blessing. It's interesting because for so many people, it is completely unnatural, right? To be willing to do something and just mess it up.
Yeah.
You know, and that perfectionism does stop. I mean, how many people I know that are so much smarter than me that could not get out of their own way to do something that was, you know, kind of innovative because they just can't. The thought of doing something and having it not be perfect or, you know, flopping in front of other people or whatever is just so painful to them that they just won't. I think again, going back to that story about Billie Jean, he inspires the shit out of me because you know, the way that I first saw that was he had come and sat down and talked with me and said, hey, you've scaled a business to this point. I want to do that. You know, can we just have like a deep dive session? And he came to my office and we sat down and we essentially did, I don't know, it was a full day or, you know, most of a day or whatever, and just kind of went through all of this stuff and just, you know, I just did a brain dump and he asked tons of questions and all that. And, you know, you have a lot of conversations with a lot of people who ask for advice or whatever, and most of them, you know, you never really see them do anything with it, and you're just kind of like, yeah, that's a bummer. And like you said, by the next morning, the guy, you know, had like gotten back to me like, man, you mentioned these 10 books. I've already bought them all. I made this change, that change, this change. I told this person their new job role is this. I, you know, shot this video, you know, whatever. And I got all that in my inbox at like 8 a.m. And the dude had not slept, you know, because he just ran home and just started just doing stuff. And that's the way that he operates. And I think that, you know, I don't know, it's an interesting thing because it is such a mental game, right? For a lot of people, it's a paralyzing fear. And I think there's kind of 2 ways to go about working that out. One is to really understand your psychology and why that bothers you. And I've done a lot of that type of work myself, not related to perfectionism, but I'll tell a different thing here in a minute. Is working on understanding that psychology. And then there's another book. I can't say the author's name for the life of me, but I love the book. It's one I literally have it on my bedside table, dog-eared, underlined, highlighted, everything like that. It's called Straight Line Leadership. And I recommend it like crazy. And the thing about it that I like is that he does a really good job of communicating this philosophy of just whatever the next action is, it's just you do that, whatever that next action is, you know, almost without thought. Because it's all just about getting momentum and just not letting your head, not giving it any time to even let it get in the way. Like, you know, his thing is kind of like, look, I understand your psychology. We've all got our psychology, but you can't let your psychology drive your action. Your action needs to drive your psychology, right?
Yeah, we get that there. We get that at our gym because we have a CrossFit gym. And we've started a new division called Burn for that reason, because we would get people who would inquire about being members of the CrossFit and say, hey, I'm going to get in shape first.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you mean?
What the hell do you think this is?
Yeah. What do we do here?
So we started another division a few years ago to take away the intimidation of
That's
that.
awesome. That's
to the
smart.
cardio, but it was the same that you're talking about. Like, I'm going to get in shape before I join your gym. Like, well, that's what you've been failing to do the last 10 years.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan. Studied his stuff my entire life. This last year was the first time that I actually went to one of his events, and I wish I had done that a long time ago. So he does at his events. He does such an amazing job. Anybody been to him? Yeah, cool. So, are you really? Awesome. In LA?
Yeah.
UPW? Cool. Good for you.
You'll be there? Nice, dude.
Nice. So he does such an amazing job with the understanding your psychology, But then even to him, a guy who's studied psychology his entire career and helped so many people with their psychology, to him, the event, you'll see the foundation of the event is him just drilling into you that, yeah, but it's all physiology. Like, I'm going to get you to feel the right way, think the right way, and do the right things purely first by just involving your body and just taking action and learning to do that. Even if it doesn't feel good, to take action on whatever you're gonna do. And that straight line leadership is kind of the same thing. It's like just about getting out of your way and just doing stuff. And I think that that's what it's all about. I think it's like whatever it is that scares you most. And so my story related to that, that I had to work for years on this. Because when I started in business, there was no freaking Facebook and any of that type of stuff. It was cold calling. It was cold calling and direct mail and knocking on doors. And that was what I did for years. And really, cold calling. I got really, really good at cold calling, selling over the phone. And I was so scared to death of cold calling when I started that I literally, I was giving myself an ulcer. I would want to throw up. It was awful. And the way that I had to get through it was creating these little mini games and challenges for me throughout the day where I'd reward myself after I made 10 calls, just stuff like that, just to create any sort of momentum. And then literally what I realized the reason behind it was I was a pleaser. Like, I hated the fact that I could be interrupting somebody's day and they could be upset at me. Like, that drove me insane. And I had to understand that about myself. And so I would do these things where I would intentionally then go out and piss somebody off just to understand that I could get through it. And it sounds ridiculous, and maybe it is ridiculous.
It's like me with my marriage every week.
Yeah, right, yeah. But I, yeah, so the Taco Bell story, yeah, these guys have been around me for a long time. And so I can remember very clearly when I was going through this and I was training my brain, retraining my brain, and I was in line at Taco Bell someplace in Silicon Valley. It's a big, long line, super busy. And I went and ordered my food, and the young kid who was behind the cash register shortchanged me by a dime. And normally you got a big long line behind it and everything like that. You're just gonna be like, that's a freaking dime, right? And move on. And I was like, brace yourself, Mike. This is an opportunity. So so I was like, excuse me, man. I think you shortchanged me a dime. And he was like a punk, and he was like, man, get the fuck out of here. He was like, I didn't shortchange it. And I was like, okay, so I get out my change and put it on the counter and I'm counting it out. And I'm like, I think I'm short a dime. And he's just standing there giving me this. And people behind me, I could hear them. And I'm red face and just sweating. But I was like, I'm not freaking leaving this line without my damn dime. Yeah, just because I had to teach myself, that I would get through that. It'd be okay. Nobody's life was going to end. Nobody was going to be so pissed off that they were going to beat me up or anything like that, or maybe they would, whatever. But I had to do stuff like that just to retrain my brain, because you grow up with these things you don't even realize that you have, And I've done so much work around that, and then in our training, I did a lot of sales training for years, and I've seen grown ass men who are bankrupting their family because they've started a business but they won't make sales calls. And there's all these documented forms of sales reluctance. And I've had wives come to me and say, Mike, we love you. He loves you. He's buying all your training, all this type of stuff. But the guy won't make a call. And I've literally taken people into our office, sat them down with their wife watching and with our whole team there and said, look, you're not leaving today. You're just making cold calls all day to get through this, because even, like I said, a grown-ass man, strong man, all that type of stuff, but just can't get out of his own way to do the thing that needs to get done. And, so whatever it is for you, figuring those things out, figuring out how you take action on those things, I think that's the difference between, it's interesting, again, going to that Tony Robbins event, one of the things that is cool about that is you're kind of just hanging out with him, even though there's 12,000 people or whatever in this event, but he does such a good job of just kind of hanging out with you. And I'll never forget, because he was standing up there and he was like, I know there's a lot of people in this audience that are like, you're Tony fucking Robbins. You're, he's 6'7", he's bigger than life.
6'7"?
Oh yeah, he's a massive man. Jesus. He's got so much freaking, so much energy. He literally, this event, you'll see, he goes, 20 hours straight. The dude does not stop. I'm not joking. You get there the first day and he's like, look, we're not doing lunch breaks. If you have to get up and pee, get up and pee. But he's like, honestly, don't drink too much water and you won't have to pee. You'll be fine. And he just and he goes, no notes, doesn't stop for food, doesn't stop to take a piss break. Like, I don't know how he does it. He's literally up there and you're like, there's no way you're going to keep 12,000 people in an arena for 20 hours straight with no agenda. There's no publisher, there's no nothing. He just gets up and starts talking. And you're like, this is a disaster in the making. There's no way this is going to work. And then he does it for 4 straight days. And you're just like, you get pushed to this point where you're like, I don't even know how how am I awake, right? Because you get no sleep the entire, it's brutal. But he says, he's like, I know that there's thousands of people in this audience that are like, you're Tony Robbins, you're this guy from this other planet that was born with all this. And he does such a good job of clarifying, look, I am a normal dude. I had a shitty childhood, dirt poor, 5 different dads, mom abused me, all that type of stuff. He's like, every single day I get up, first thing you do, maybe you've seen these videos, first thing he does is he jumps into a dunk tank of freezing water. And he does that because he is teaching his brain that I don't care how awful it is to jump into a dunk tank of freezing water first thing when you wake up in the morning, I'm gonna do it. And he does that because he's like, every single day I train my brain that throughout the day there's gonna be things that even I, Tony Robbins, are intimidated to do, scared to do, don't wanna do because I'm too tired, and I'm just going to train myself to just do it, regardless. And that and he's like, and that's why I'm Tony Robbins, because I do that every single freaking day. Every single day that I'm feeling like shit, every single time that I'm feeling afraid of doing something, I have these little tricks that then force my brain into forcing me into action.
So basically, tomorrow morning I need to wake the 10 people sleeping in this house.
Cold showers.
We're jumping in the pool.
Cold showers, absolutely.
We're getting in the pool.
Do it. Now that's absolutely what he does. If you go to his private events, his smaller events, everybody's in the dunk tank, everybody's in a river, freezing river, whatever it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, long way of saying psychology and then action. The action, if you can figure out the thing that will get you to take action, even if your psychology is still screwed up, you're still going to get the result that you're looking for. And that's the thing that really starts to train your brain, because you make 100 cold calls, just like you're saying, the numbers. Even if you're terrible at cold calls, so you have to make 200 when somebody else has to make 100, eventually you're going to find somebody that's going to buy something from you, and you're going to go, even though that felt like shit, I did it, and it still got the result I was looking for, and then it starts to feel better,
Something that you said triggered in me, and this is a personal, selfish question, because I want the answer to it, but something that's new for me the last 12 months is coaching a lot of people in here, coaching agencies. And wasn't something I had was not in my business. This time last year, I came to Traffic and Conversions.
Yeah.
There was nothing in my business plan that had any line item on a P&L or projection for coaching revenue, for a membership program, and it happened. Turned around in May, there's 100 agencies that are following me. I'm like, these guys are either all drunk or maybe I'm onto something. I think Ryan was actually drunk. But one thing I'm trying to figure out on my own time is how I can learn more about them. I'll give you a great example. This is Ryan sitting there. Ryan's been with me, about a year now? And up until about 2 months ago, didn't listen to me on the video stuff, did you? For the most part. Ignored me.
I listened, but
Yeah, ignored me.
Yeah.
This past 2 months, I saw a video yesterday you did in the brewery where you're at the bar, the dudes are in the aprons. I'm jealous. I'm like, that dude just kicked my ass. I was so excited for him. I'm like, that is what's going to help him if he keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Next week, next month, next year, that in 2 or 3 years, he's just going to be printing money and then printing results for his clients. What I'm trying to figure out on my end is that I've got 210 or so Ryans now, and I've actually got a person I'm talking to. My goal in my office is to have a TV that has every one of their damn pictures.
Yeah.
And so I can
That's
literally
awesome.
put the mouse over it and say, who is Ryan? Kids, family, where's he at revenue-wise? What has he done?
Yeah.
What's your advice on that, leading a tribe? Because it's new to me.
Honestly, all of that sounds brilliant. I think the challenge of that is something that honestly has stumped me as well. I think I'm a pretty darn good leader when I can have people in a room and have FaceTime with them and all that type of stuff. And like you're talking about, you get to know them and you understand what makes them tick and stuff like that. Doing it virtually is really challenging. It frustrates the shit out of me because I have a program just like you do, and there's certain fundamental things. And I asked that program the other day. I put a survey up in there and asked them, how many of you are using a daily scorecard? I mean, to me, it's just to me, it's like there's certain, if you're an entrepreneur, and I say, well, what are your goals for the year, your goals for the quarter, or whatever it is? What is your key metric to understand? Are you making progress on that goal or not? And how are you tracking it? And if you don't have, well, it's this, and I got that, and I'm doing this, I'm like, what are you telling me that you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to build a business? Like, to me, it just doesn't even compute. So I feel like I've communicated that to that group, and then I go and ask them, and it's like my survey responses were, yes, I'm using a daily scorecard. No, I'm not. What the hell is a daily scorecard? and the biggest percentage was, what the hell is a daily scorecard? And I was like, Jesus, I want to jump off the balcony right now. It's frustrating as shit. I don't know. So when you figure it out, let me know. I'd love to know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I had a call the other day with probably some of the people in this room are in it, and one of the guys is fighting me because this program, like, I want you to go a in-person seminar.
Yeah. And
there's a lady named Michelle who's down in Florida who I convinced to finally do it, and she's actually made some huge headway. But this one guy's telling me, and I hope you're watching. If you're watching, I won't say his name, but how doesn't have a place to go, and he's Hispanic, and he's focused on Hispanic business. I said, I'm going to guess there's a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in New York City, brother. And he goes, what do you mean? I literally pull my screen up, Google. There's like 10 of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm going to guess if you call them and say, hey, I'm a Hispanic American. I'm trying to grow a digital marketing to help Hispanic owned restaurants.
You might get some support.
Do you know anybody?
Yeah.
And it was to me, it was like the obvious thing, but to him it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that maybe get your thought on this that I've noticed is for the last 3 years, I've had one person that I've paid to coach me. Billy Jean. Mm-hmm. Because like when I played football in college, I had a defensive back coach. Mm-hmm. I didn't listen to the head coach. Mm-hmm. I didn't listen to the offensive coordinator. I didn't listen to the defense coordinator. I didn't listen to Dave Trosper, our defensive linebackers coach, hated me. I didn't listen to him. He wasn't my coach. And one thing I found, I had a guy the other day I did a coaching session with. He's in 5 programs for his agency. I'm like, dude, you can't possibly successfully complete the advice from 5 different people. Own one of them.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I think I think that it's a little bit of an addiction of the whole buying everything, being a part of everything, all that type of stuff. It's fun, to come and go to all the events and meet all the people and all that type of stuff. The reality is we all probably need to have our ass in our seat behind our computer screen, working our tail off, more. And so I think that, like just absorbing from one person and just executing like crazy, I think is critical. I think the first person I heard say that really well, and I know he's pretty controversial, but I bet a lot of people in here love him, is Grant Cardone. And Grant Cardone, has very clearly says, just pick one mentor, one coach, whatever it is, to follow. And he says, like, look, I may not be right. Maybe Gary Vee is right. Gary Vee says, don't charge for your content, give it all away for free, just build everybody's self-esteem, and eventually it'll all come back and work out for you in the long run. Grant Cardone is sell today, sell tomorrow, sell the next thing, sell. And he's like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe he's right, but whatever it is, you got to pick whichever one works for you and just run with it and execute like crazy. Because if you do listen to both messages, one, you're going to be confused, and 2, you're just not gonna have time to execute everything they're saying, right?
Well, I remember early on, and when I started following Billy, I was doing Billy. I was in Vince Reed, had some stuff, and I didn't even know who Vince Reed really was then, and now I know him a little better. But I had 4 or 5 people, and what I found was I was like, I've heard a guy, Brad Martineau from 6th Division, say it's like people build a lot of partially built bridges, and there's not many times you get across the river on a built bridge that's halfway built. Yeah. But I had a guy the other day who called me up and was buying my program, and I said, no, you're not. What do you mean? Because he told me he's in Ty Lopez's like 3.0 class and this. And I said, dude, what have you successfully executed from any of those? Yeah. He's like, what do you mean? I said, have you actually closed the deal or done? Well, no, not yet. I'm like, you got 4 of them, cancel 3 of them, own 1 of them, dominated. And that's one thing I can at least say about me. I've screwed up a lot of stuff, and I will continue to. But like Billy told me what I was going to charge for my webinar when I did it for my book launch last year, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm charging this. And he told me again. I finally was like, okay, I'm charging that. Yeah. He told me I was getting away from ClickFunnels and doing Kajabi for my membership site. I did that. Like literally, when he says, I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'm paying him. I might as well listen.
Yeah, he's doing some things all right.
Yeah,
right?
You don't go to the doctor and say, hey, my knees hurt. I'm like, do this. Nah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
So what are some questions? You guys got a genius sitting next to us, an entrepreneur we all strive to be.
I don't know about that.
Casey, what do you got? You got a question?
I got a question, sure. Yeah. So
Why didn't the Seahawks run the ball?
I'm just gonna let's not talk about Washington.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Hey.
So obviously you have an MBA.
Yeah.
And you went through a lot of education. You built really large businesses.
Yeah.
Now there's some, not necessarily just Billy, but there's some gurus and some teachers that really do say that education's a scam and college is a scam and fuck college and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But in your experience, since you actually have an MBA,
Yeah.
what's your personal belief system around this and why?
I can tell you. So that's an interesting question. I think that the model of education that I grew up with is almost completely outdated, almost completely obsolete. And I say almost completely because there are certain professions where you absolutely, that model is a great one, right? I want to know that every doctor has gone through a structured program, tested like hell, methodical, and now they're a doctor, right? I don't want them to just do some online thing and then erase through it. But the reality is, all you got to do is, do you have kids?
No.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah. So So I've got 3 kids. And all you have to do is watch the way that they learn. I mean, they learn so fast, so easily, so fluidly compared to the way that I learned growing up, because they just hop on YouTube and they find something that they can watch. And they don't even, what was the world before having a mobile device and having YouTube that I could just instantly pull up whatever I wanted to? So it's phenomenal to watch. My 7-year-old is a beast on an iPad or an iPhone. Like, I sit there and watch her, and we don't even let her have too much time with it, and she's still just so intuitively just flip through that thing and Siri. I'm like, who are you talking to? I don't talk kind of Siri. I got to and I'm just like, what? She's 7 years old and she can just power through the thing and understands how to research and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, God, that's unbelievable, right? So the idea that you have to go and spend these years in an institution where you've got these, professors that haven't, been getting real world experience for a long time, and, depending on what you're doing, I don't know how anybody can make the argument that that's not totally obsolete. For certain things, again, it makes absolute sense. It makes total sense. So I hate to say it's completely one way or the other. I can tell you, for my kids, it's interesting because, my ex-wife now, she has a much more traditional view of career and all that type of stuff. I'm like, with my kids, I'm like, here's the thing. If you want to go to college and you think that that's really the right thing for you and you're doing it because you want to learn X and that's the right way to go about it, then I support it. I'm going to help you however I can. But I've already started, having the conversations with my 15-year-old. Look, you're telling me you want to be an artist? The way you become an artist is you do art.
Yeah.
It's not by going to a school and listening to a professor. And I'm not saying you're not going to get educated. You need to get educated on how to do all of that, how to create shadow, how to create proportion, all of that. You have to get educated. But you can get that education in so many ways that are so much faster, so much more real time, all that type of stuff. And the best way is by throwing your ass into art and doing art 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, being in it and going and learning from people who are doing it every day. So I've told her, look, if you want to be an artist, let's go find the best artists that we possibly can that will take on an apprentice or an intern or whatever you call it in that field, and I'll pay your living expenses instead of paying your college tuition. And go and do that. And then if you decide you need to go to college is always going to be there. Go to college then, whatever. But go do that and still, understand that you've got to learn. That's, to me, is the most important thing, is you've got to love learning. I learn at so much more of a rapid pace today than I did in college. Now, all of that being said, an MBA was still good for me for a couple of reasons. One, for me, it confirmed a lot of things and provided structure to a lot of things that I had learned when I was just running a million miles an hour, but had not slowed down to almost structure the learning in my brain to make it really sink in. And so then I went and sat through a classroom where they were teaching these things in a structured way, and I could put the pieces together. So that was really beneficial to me. And the other way that that's really beneficial is the network, right? You meet so many amazing people, so many people that have had an incredible impact on my life because of it pulls people together. But again, we live in, I mean, there's no freaking cooler time to be alive, one, and two, to be an entrepreneur than right now. Like, there is so much badass stuff in the communities that you can get involved in, the people that you can find online like that and connect with. Like, I don't know how many people I've worked with my entire, the last 10 years that I've never met. They're in all these foreign countries and they've been on my team for 5 years. I've never met them, and like, that's just amazing that you can find those connections and get that without the structure of a program like that and going to a university. So, it's something that I'm super passionate about because I hate the idea of my kids going to college because they think that that's what they're supposed to do. And I live in Carmel Valley, which is like a really nice neighborhood of San Diego. All the public schools are, my 15-year-old daughter, the high school is the 6th ranked in high school. But every other kid there pretty much is being raised by a parent that, not to sound, I don't want to get in any trouble, but many of the families there are Asian families that have moved into the neighborhood specifically because they really prioritize education, which is fantastic, but they also really prioritize that you're going to be a lawyer, doctor, or a dentist. And so all of her friends are on lawyer, doctor, dentist track, whether they like it or not. Yeah. And their parents put immense pressure on them that you graduate and then you go to UCLA or Harvard or whatever, and then you go to dental school, law school or medical school. And so she feels all that and she comes to me and she's like, Dad, do I have to? And I'm like, no. Like, no. In fact, don't do any of that unless you're really sure that that's what you love. Because 90% of dentists hate their life, right? Like, so, don't do any of that. Like, go and travel the world and, I'll help pay for that instead. So, long answer to your question, but it's something that's exciting to me.
I don't know if you've done this because you might not know me this long. The story I have, I'm teaching a class at Northern Kentucky University right now.
Oh, cool.
It was put together specifically by me. I'm doing it for free, but it's my class. It's 14 students. They're running my entire restaurant program and 3 other aspects with a restaurant, a live restaurant.
That's awesome.
Today pitched their entire ideas we put together the last 3 weeks to the owner. She accepted every one of them with
great.
one tweak, and we put it in place. But where this came from was kind of comical. And I can relate because I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I have openly told them, if you want to move to Hawaii and work in an ice cream shop when you get out of high school, have fun.
Yeah.
Because I made fun of a friend of mine who misled his parents, who were really out of touch, that he graduated from University of Kentucky. He didn't graduate. His dad's friends threw him a party. He got $30,000 cash. He went to Vail, Colorado. Was a ski bum for 10 years. Then came back and grew up. Yeah. And I remember thinking he's an idiot. Then we all got the 30 and we're like, what a genius.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
I've openly told my kids that, 2 years of July of 2017, I'm at Chipotle in Erlanger. And lady in front of me is ordering her food, and she's like, oh, hey, where are you going to school at this semester? And she's like, oh, I'm not going to college, taking a semester off. And I didn't hear what the teacher said, but I could tell that she belittled the hell out of this girl. Yeah. And this girl's face just dropped, and I said, what do you want to do? I want to be in marketing. I said, fuck college. Yeah. And this teacher looked at me and said, excuse me?
Seriously, right?
And I said, fuck college. She goes, what makes you say that? I go, well, I've got a pretty successful ad agency. I've hired 14 people in the last couple of years, and I honestly have never asked any of them.
Where did you go to school?
Yeah. I say, here's a task.
Yeah.
Can you accomplish it? Yeah. And they typically come back and do it better than me. And I go, that's pretty good. You're hired.
Yeah.
Well, of course, in Matt Plapp fashion, I did a live video on it. Well, my friend, Dr. Nichols, is a very good professor at the university. She saw the video and called me out on it. And I said, here's what I'll do. I'll find 3 of my friends that are badass marketers. You find 3 of the people at that university. We will come to the university, and we will find a business, and we'll see whose results happen. Yeah. Like, I'd grab Casey Carroll, I'd grab Brian, I'd grab Ashley Glenn and say, okay, us 4 against these 4 old dudes who did direct mail 30 years ago. Yeah. And when I did that, she's like, okay, well, why don't you come teach a class? So I went in one day and taught a class. Well, apparently they liked what I did because I showed them the back of my restaurant program, how we can track a Facebook ad to an opt-in, to a redemption, to the ROI. Yeah. Like, can you come do this again? So then I kind of had a part of a class last semester, and this semester it's full-blown, but it was funny because there's, ironically, 3 of the kids, they all had to apply to be in this class. There's 14 of them that got accepted. 3 of them work at ad agencies. And what's even better is that these ad agencies are traditional old school agencies in Cincinnati. They don't do what we do.
Yeah.
And I said, you go realize that within 3 months, you're going to be better equipped on customer acquisition via digital marketing
than your agency,
than
your
anybody at
employer.
that agency.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
And the best part is I'm going to hire them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm a big believer of, again, it's all about how do you learn to love to learn, right? Learn to love to learn, right? Because that's the thing is if you're proactively seeking out the information that you need, the insights that you need, and finding the mentors and stuff like that, I mean, you could do that at such a faster pace than any, college program is going to.
And I'm a college grad. And I told my daughter the other day, she was asking about this because she visited Central Florida, which makes me cringe because I saw the bill. But supposedly she's going to get a full ride, so hopefully. And we were talking about that, and she's like, what do you think? I said, Paige, honestly, I don't regret college because, 1, I met your mom.
Yeah.
That's the best investment ever.
Yeah.
2, I had a great time being a scrub on a football team with no pressure.
Yeah.
Got in the second half, got to eat all-you-can-eat buffet. That was my highlight.
Yeah,
I actually remember a game that Charleston Southern University, I'm in the locker room with a cup this big of frozen yogurt and chocolate chips. And the DB coach goes, like, what are you doing, Plapp? I'm like, am I getting it? Like, no. I'm like, good. Sitting there eating my uniform.
Yeah.
But I said, I loved college for that aspect. Yeah. I can't look back and say that my marketing career prospered because I learned how to roll up a microphone. Like, you actually roll these up like this and you have a little twisting. I learned that in college. And that was my university.
Yeah, no, I know, and it's interesting because I've actually had this conversation a lot lately because for interesting reason I'm around. I know a bunch of attorneys right now, and attorneys are all unhappy. And when you, I mean maybe not all of them, but when you listen to them talking about, well, why are you still doing this and all that, and it's all because they had the student loan debt. They had the student loan debt, and so they felt like they had to take the job. They're young. They don't know any better. They feel like, they have to get on this important career track. And then next thing you know, it's 20 years later, and then they've got the mortgage, the kids, all that type of stuff. So now it's even harder to escape, right? And you're just like, oh. And again, it goes back to that freedom thing, why you're an entrepreneur, because you don't want to feel like you're forced to do that type of thing, right? So when my kids, when they're thinking about like student loan debt, or whatever to get a college degree, I'm just like, oh. No freaking way.
Oh, that's what I told my daughter. I said, we'll figure out whatever you do, but you will not, when you graduate college, you won't have debt. Not
wait tables, flip burgers, sell whatever, yeah. Oh.
Sell your brother.
Yeah.
Who's got a question? Yes, sir.
So, I know you're really big into local media assets.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people here are restaurant marketers.
Yes.
So, part 1, that's a 2-part question.
Yes.
Part 1, how can restaurants leverage local media assets, restaurant agencies, local leverage?
So easy.
Leverage local media assets.
Yeah.
2, where are local media assets going?
Oh man, I love you for asking these questions. These are my
This is
sweet.
a plant?
Yeah. I paid him $20.
It's like cue cards.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I may have a few local assets that we are not leveraging.
Cool. Yeah, so he's using that word assets because I actually, not to knock on the agency stuff, but I say assets over agency because, and it's a distinction. I tell people that there are certain assets that if you develop, then it's just a much better business model than just a typical agency business model. One of the most painful things that I've learned in my life, and I'll tell this story quickly, is that your business model frickin' matters. And you can bust your ass for the next 20 years and do the best job at a shitty business model, and what you're gonna be left with is shit compared to the guy who busted his ass for 20 years and did a mediocre job in a phenomenal business model. All you gotta do is don't listen to me, listen to Warren Buffett. It's one of the things that he teaches is, I look for businesses where a mediocre management team can still have great success. Because I don't want business to be that hard, and that's why he's avoided technology and all that. He's like, I just don't, that seems very hard, very complicated, right? So I learned painfully watching my very good friend who is now retired, massive mansion in Malibu, races cars for a living, drives a Bentley for a living, all that type of stuff. He had a business smaller than mine, sold it and walked away with, $45 million net because it was a better business model and people will pay a much bigger price tag for that business model. He had a different asset than what I built, even though my business was a leader in its space, was significantly bigger, had all the recurring revenue. It was still a service business, and a smart buyer will still only pay so much money for a service business. It's just reality. So if there's anything that I can share with people building agencies, it's just to be very smart about building assets that your agency services are wrapped around, so that you are building something that's got more equity value.
Define the local asset.
So a local asset, so what I'm doing right now.
Greater Scottsdale Happening Events. Go and check it out on Facebook.
There you go. So what I'm doing right now here in San Diego is I have a site and website, Instagram, all that type of stuff called There San Diego, and it's just a local media property. I sell marketing services, just like other people do, but it's built around that media property. And the reason why is because there's an asset now. There's a site that gets traffic, and there's an audience and all that type of stuff. There's a reason why media has been so valuable over time, and that's because media is an asset that has the attention of other people, right? So that's what I'm building. Again, it's still agency services to a large degree that I'm selling associated with that property, but it's the asset that I'm building. So why does that make such a difference? Well, it's something that people see every day. They see articles and the brand and all that type of stuff. They see Instagram posts. There's people interacting with my content every day. So as a business that wants to get my name out there, I can see There San Diego and I can go, oh, I would like to advertise, with them because I see they have that audience. So it's a total change in the way that you're selling, which is, to me, again, the cost of selling and the effort of selling to small businesses is the biggest cost in your business. And most people aren't really accounting for it, but it is by far. So anything that you can do to make that sales cycle faster, more slippery, is the biggest win that you can have. So to me, instead of doing the marketing of just running ads for my agency services, running a newsletter for my agency services, take those same dollars and build a media property instead. And now I have an asset. Now I have something that's building an audience and getting attention. Now I have something that people can see and understand. I would like to market through that. So I have people coming to me every day and saying, how do I advertise through you? And that's typically their language, is they understand advertising. So then I can then translate that into, well, yes, we can do advertising, but we can do all these other services. So I think for restaurants, it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, food is one of the most popular topics on social media on a local level by far, right? And one of the best examples of this is Eater.com and Eater on Instagram, and look at them, and they're a national media company that, they're killing it. And all they're doing is posting pictures of food at the local restaurants.
So my session that I had at my restaurant marketing event last month, where we talked about with guys in this room, creating a local food brand, restaurant interviews, blogs, so that you're seen as a resource and an expert for that exact same thing.
Totally.
It's the same elements.
Yeah, absolutely. So building that up to me is just, I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy not to do it. If you're an agency serving restaurants in a local market and you're not doing that, I don't know. You'd have to tell me the real good reason why.
Do you have a course on that?
I do. Yes. If anybody would like to, here's your affiliate commissions. Yeah.
Could you share with the community the training that you did around that? The one that you kind of did with
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of it.
local media training.
Yeah, local media training.
And
Yeah.
I think this is very valuable because this is another side, the other side of the coin. That's going to more than 10x the value of your agency, because then people are turning to you as that local authority, like what you're talking about there in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we were with you guys from day one when you were doing it.
Yep.
And it's one of the testaments to what you and Josh and do is you guys can create, turn that into an SOP and then teach it to the masses.
Yeah.
In such a consumable way. And I think like with Matt and what this community is doing around local restaurants,
Yep.
it's a huge bolt-on and it's a seamless transition.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, he and I we can talk about that at some point. But yeah, but I mean, it's essentially that. It's building up those media properties, using that to get the attention of the audience. So if I have an audience in San Diego of 50,000 people who love food on Instagram, well then I can go to restaurants, and if you're just trying to sell straight agency services to the restaurant, and I'm trying to sell the same agency services But with an audience of 50,000 people that love food and a brand that they can see every single day, look at me, I'm crushing it on Instagram, and you're going to hire that guy who says he's crushing it on Instagram and he doesn't even have his own Instagram account? There, San Diego. Yeah, there as in like you're there, see you there. That was kind of the thing is, we'll be out there in the market. It's anyway. Sometimes you just got to run with the brand, right?
No, you're right on too, because the other element of that is that my background in radio and TV, all of the mass media companies suck.
They suck.
They suck at what we do.
They suck.
And that was part of the concept we talked. Like I'm in the process of, I've got another brand I can't mention, but it's a national brand we're working on about the exact concept.
Yeah.
But then I've also got NorthernKentuckyEats.com and Cincinnati
exactly.
Eats. And the concept is building that because what I saw was like I get more people come to me because I'm Matt Plapp.
Yeah.
Because I do so much content, I interview so many
yeah.
entrepreneurs, and they come around me. But the more people I get, like I had one client, we did in 4 days 20,000 video views.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like 80% were more than like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Matt, I've had so much feedback on you did this video, and like you're just a person."
Yeah.
So being able to harness that audience, like you're saying, and be able to turn that around.
It's unbelievable. It's crazy. And so when you ask about, well, what's the opportunity in that for everybody, it's incredible. And it's incredible, one, just because it's social media and it's blowing up and all that type of stuff, and you have all these skills and knowledge that most people don't have to capitalize on that. But the other reason why it's incredible is because exactly what he said, the traditional media companies suck. And they're falling apart. I mean, the San Diego Union Tribune here, the major paper, is now, I think it's like 10% of the staff that it was like 8 years ago. And it's been bought and sold 4 times during that time. Everything is just imploding in traditional media on a local level. And they are scrambling to try and figure stuff out. And I did not understand, when we started there in San Diego, I did not understand the power of our skills and our knowledge fully. Because I launched it and I was just kind of like, I'm just going to hustle. And I mean, I'm writing articles, staying up until 3 a.m, cranking out, writing blog posts and stuff, and just, doing Facebook ads like I know how to do. And next thing I know, I started getting all these PR firms and stuff calling me, can we have lunch? Can we go? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's have lunch, whatever. And I barely even knew what a PR firm was. And I go out and I sit down with them, and they're just like, sharks. It was like a feeding frenzy. Like, what are you doing? How? Where did you come from? What are you doing? How do we work with you? All this type of stuff. And I'm just like, and it's because they're starving for assets to be able to get the attention for their clients, because the traditional media assets are falling apart, and they make their money. PR firms charge a restaurant $2,000 a month to get an article placed. Yeah. So they come to me and they're like, dude, would you run the frickin' article on the happy hour special? And so all of a sudden I'm their best friend, because so it's an incredible opportunity. What exactly it looks like and how exactly it shapes up here over the next handful of years, you got to be in for the ride, because it's falling apart, it's disintegrating. But that's where the awesome opportunities are before it becomes, Tom said, I have a system around it that I teach people, but I'm still figuring out the system. But that's where the opportunity comes from, because
I know something you can plug into that system.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So like a few years.
You guys don't leave. We got to conquer the world.
But a few years from now, it will really be a system, and then it'll be much more expensive, because it'll be easy for me to franchise a market or something like that. But I think one of the things that you mentioned, what's crazy about it, is if you can combine the asset that isn't Matt Plapp, it's there in San Diego or it's Cincinnati Eats, with a dose of personality too, it's unbelievable. I'll never forget, I took my kids to, there's a major air show here in San Diego at the Miramar, the Top Gun base. It's an incredible air show. And I took it to them. There's this big ass long security line, and we're in line in security. And I had 6 different people while I'm in line with my kids go, hey, you're there, San Diego. And I barely do anything with myself personally associated with that brand. I post about the restaurants and about the businesses. And on Instagram, particularly like Instagram stories, that's when I'll post some footage of me, hey, I'm out at the air show, blah, 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 having a good time, Mike with Air San Diego. But I don't do that much. But the power of that brand, and then being able to inject a little bit of dose of personality in it, it's amazing how powerful that is. People are just drawn to it, and you create like a little celebrity thing here on a local level that I honestly don't capitalize on nearly as much as I should to this point, mostly just because I'm spending so much dang time with my kids. But But if you were out there like really hustling, really out going to all the restaurants and all the bars and meeting all the people and all that type of stuff, like it would be crazy, crazy, crazy powerful.
You know, the easiest way to do that also is harness some college kids.
Totally. That's but here's the deal. The even better thing is, and this is what I love about this freaking model. Yeah, what I love about this freaking model, the PR firms send me 50 pieces of free content every day. We barely have to create content anymore.
Well, they don't know, like, earned media now is paid media.
Right. So they just want me to publish shit about their clients. So they write blog posts.
Give it to you.
Yeah, and give it to me. They write these roundups, top 10 places to get chicken wings in San Diego, and 4 of them are their clients. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. Give me a cool article, and then I'll go through and edit it. Maybe I'll yank some of their stuff out. I don't promise them that I'm going to publish their content as it is, but I get like 50 of those a day.
But do you have those chicken wing ones?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we're in. Let's go. You know, I get invited to every, you know, to go eat at every restaurant for free, every restaurant opening, all that type of stuff, because they just want the attention. They want the covers. They want you to come in and shoot your Instagram stories while you're there, what you're eating and stuff like that. And then the other thing is that's beautiful about this model is everybody right now wants to be an influencer and everybody wants to be a blogger, and none of them know how to do marketing. So I find all the smart hustling influencers and bloggers, and I just say, hey, look, I'm there, San Diego, and oh wow, look at your audience and all that type of stuff. But yeah, give me content, I'll publish it on the site. I'm not going to pay you anything, or maybe I'll pay them a little bit. I'll cover your costs, you know, whatever. But here's what I'll do: that money that you would normally get paid by somebody else to write the post, I'll put that into traffic. I'll make sure your post gets 20,000 views with your name on it. So I get the content. I get the content for free. Now, the other thing about talking about earned media and paid media is now those blog posts, right? I'm selling those to clients. That becomes my marketing. My number one marketing is just content on my site. It's paid. You want a cool article written up about the best chicken wings and you want to make sure you're in the number one spot? Great. You know, that's X dollars. And then the thing is that's different for our model compared to a traditional media model is I will guarantee you 50,000 views of that article. And here's how much it costs. And because we all know how to do Facebook advertising and stuff, you just put it up there, you promote it, you put it to 50,000 views, and then you shut the dang thing off. Yep. And I know my margins. I know the cost of getting that traffic.
If somebody will go to my bedroom, the money room, and grab my backpack, I want to show you a case study. It's the one down.
So it's awesome. I think it's awesome. And I just, so not because my model is not the only model. So when we talk about building assets and other ways to do that, what a lot of people are doing now is they've figured out something that we're, you know, Rob, right? Rob is working in gyms. Now he's building an automation tool that's specifically to run those kinds of marketing campaigns with gyms. That's an asset. Yeah. He's transitioning. So I have a friend, and this is one of those moments where I was like, this just happened this week, and let this be it's recurring revenue. It's it's automated, much higher equity value when you sell it. So here's one of those stories that like I probably won't be able to sleep for the rest of the week, because there's a guy, when I was starting my IT services industry, he had an IT services company too. We were about the same size, super smart guy, ran a super disciplined business, really good guy. We were good buddies, but our business was growing way faster than him. He was like, what the heck are you guys doing? But then he also started the CRM platform for the IT services companies, right? So I was one of his biggest customers of that CRM platform, knew him really, really well, watched it grow, was like, geez, this thing's really getting good, really getting momentum. Just sold it this week for north of $1 billion. Jeez. Fuck. 200 ConnectWise in Tampa. Just paid out $270 million to his employees. Wow. Yeah, $270 million to his employees.
So I want to show you this, because this
model is important.
This goes with your company. Now I won't say the name of the company, but I'll show you this later. This is our case study for a pizza restaurant that shows how we dominated the world with it.
Nice.
This is a national big media company. This is there's 2 different case studies they gave to a client of mine. This one, I can't make this up. In 2 months, our average engagement on our post went from 25 to 137 people. I'm like, there's 137 homeless people in the block down here.
Yeah, right.
But this is like literally, this client of mine was like, Matt, you gotta come see this, bro. Like, I can't make this up. And I go in and like, this is their media kit from a huge national company. They're a national traditional media company that now is selling social media. And when I was telling somebody the other day, I was telling some guys in our program, trying to have them comprehend the value that we're able to bring as local people. I'm like, okay, so this company has a president, there's a vice president, there's a market manager, general sales manager, a sales assistant, salesman. Then there's the person down here doing the social media, which is probably some 21-year-old that has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like this results are just comical. You know, they the goal, launch the very first social media campaign for this 100-year-old brand and build an online audience. Well, they got 153 page likes. They got 169 reactions and 5 comments.
Jesus.
Whereas this, what all of us in this room are capable of doing, got 6,874 comments and grew a database of 4681 and drove $36,000 in sales. And it was funny because the lady it's kind of funny, she's a client of mine and she's a big advocate. And she watches all my videos. I love her to death because like she like repeats my videos. Like I'm like, man, if I can get married to a second woman, maybe we could like be Mormons or something. I don't know. But she's like, Matt, they showed me this, and I said, okay, how many people became subscribers in Messenger from this? What's Messenger? Okay, well, how many got an email? Well, none. They just commented, like 6 people. Oh, well, how many visited the restaurant? And do you have any trackable metric that shows how much they spent? Well, no. I'm not buying from you. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, can you come work for me?
Yeah.
But that's the competition.
Yeah.
They have no clue.
So one of the things that I've learned that is fascinating, again, because I didn't know about PR firms really, and it's amazing to me right now. If you just stop calling yourself a marketing agency and call yourself a PR firm, you can triple your prices and do like a quarter of the work. It is unfreaking believable. I've always worked with partners, and I love it. Like I feel like there's I don't know. I feel like I personally get a lot of benefit from having somebody else that's on the team that has different skill sets, different personality, all that type of stuff. Like to me, it's just always been helpful. I've started businesses raising money. I've started businesses not raising money. I've had great experiences with that. I've had awful experiences with that. So I think self-awareness is just really, really important. Understanding like, do I need a partner? Do I have a weak spot that needs to be filled? Can I hire that to fill that weak spot, or do I need to partner with somebody because I can't afford to hire them? But I personally, I like it a lot. I've had long-term business partners. So yeah. I know we got to go. Can I one topic here before we go? This is kind of a passion thing for me now. So anytime I get around a group of entrepreneurs, I like to just cover this real quick. And that is the we touched on it earlier, but the idea of just really proactively taking care of your psychology as an entrepreneur. I'm super, super passionate about this. As I mentioned, almost all of us as entrepreneurs are going to go through amazing highs that other people never get to experience, and you're going to go through amazing lows. Amazing may not be the right word. Really shitty lows that other people would just freaking break. And here's the deal. Two things about this. One, if you're going to sign up to be an entrepreneur, I a long time ago, my first business partner and I, we ended up calling ourselves the cucarachas, the cockroaches, because we mentally just decided that we were going to outlast anything. We were going to be the cockroaches that after nuclear war we survived. And that has done me so much good because psychologically I just accepted, hey, the worst is going to happen and I'm going to get through it. Rather than stressing about is the worst ever going to happen, when is it going to happen, all that type of stuff, I just said it's going to happen and I'm just going to get through it and I'm just going to swallow that now and just accept it. And that shift has been incredibly valuable for me. But then at the same time, doing everything that you can every freaking day to keep your psychology healthy. And this really hit me for 2 reasons here in the last few years. In the last few years, I went through personally, I mentioned that I have an ex-wife now. I went through a personal slump that I have never, ever, ever, ever in my life really had any significant problem with my psychology. The way that you look at everything in your life is impacted by that. And I realized how fortunate I was my entire life that I didn't deal with that. That I could wake up every day and no matter how shitty the situation, I could go, yeah, but we're gonna figure out a way through it. Come on, man, let's go. And that's such a gift. And to do the things that you want to do with your career, to take on the challenges that you want to take on, you kind of have to be a little bit insane, right? And so you've got to freaking take on that job of managing your psychology as proactively as possible. So I don't care if it's Tony Robbins or whoever else it is, whoever it is that inspires you to really, really, really be in that A-game mode all the time. You've got to find that. You've got to figure out your tricks. After going to the Tony Robbins thing, I take a cold shower every freaking morning. First thing I do, turn on ice cold and jump in that damn water without thinking about it, because that's my first psychology hack of the day. And I do shit like that throughout my day to make sure that I'm staying at the absolute best that I can stay, that my game is on, is on point. And that's important for your business. It's important for your kids. I mean, shit, if you have kids, you owe it to your kids. And that was the thing that ultimately snapped me out of my funk, is I was like, oh my God, like, are my kids gonna see me that way? Like, and think that that's the way their dad is like, and that broke me fucking down. You've gotta be proactive. You've gotta realize that there's another level, and there's another level and another level. I'm not talking of achievement. I'm talking of feeling good and like managing that and doing a really good job of managing that. It's the most important thing I think that we can do. I mentioned the other thing that really impacted me about this over the last year in my neighborhood in San Diego. We fucking live in paradise. We live in I live like in the nicest neighborhood in America. And I saw 3 entrepreneurs kill themselves. 2 of them jumped off the Coronado Bridge because they got behind on debt and they freaked out so bad. And I could not sleep because they have young children. And I was like, you could have come to me and I could have solved that debt problem for you. Not because I'm a genius at solving debt, but I've worked my way through a lot of problems as an entrepreneur, and I know that it's just a fucking loan from a bank. And if you would just walk away from it, there are professionals that all they do for a living is take care of bad loans with banks. That's how they make a living. Not only are they not going to jump off a bridge because of it, they make a living doing that. So just go ask for the help and find the help. But the problem was that they got so behind on their psychology that they didn't know how to do that, right? They couldn't see their way to the other side of it. And when you can't, then that's when bad things happen. So whatever it is, for you, again, finding a guru, doing yoga every day, exercising every day, eating well, having a friend that you can talk to, whatever the hell it is, find that and be proactive about it, and be proactive about taking care of that upstairs. It's going to be better for your business. You're going to make more money because of it. You're going to have more fun because of it, but you're going to have a better life, right? So that would be my ending rant, if I could.
And if all of you have noticed, that the last month, I've started putting more quotes up with the MP fist and quotes, because I think that too many of us, especially on social media, the last couple of years have shown us it's real easy to get wrapped up in all the political crap and he said, she said, and like I've gotten to a point now where it's like, you know what? All I look at is positive. I love the fact that I've got a community of 1,600 agencies in a group and a couple hundred in the restaurant that we're all on the same path.
That's incredible.
Why this morning I put a quote up from Richard Branson. That Ashley on my team sent me a list of quotes because she knew I saw him speak yesterday. And she knew what I'd like to do, and it's all mindset, man. You're like,
all mindset.
I've been in car wrecks. I've had things happen before, and I'm like, I never forget when I had a Jaguar that got bent in half on the cut in the hill in Cincinnati, and the tow truck driver pulled up, and this car literally is bent in half. An XK8, it was gorgeous. I loved it. Felt like I was James Bond, and I had just gotten the hood repainted because somebody backed into it. And he walks up with his chains, and he throws the chain. I go, whoa, 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 watch the hood, dude. And he looks at me, the car's bent in half. And he looks like, what? And I go, I'm just messing with you, man. I don't give a shit. It's a car. It's bent in half. What's going to happen to me? I'm alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, just positivity's there and mindset.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. But hey, big round of applause for this man.
Thanks, everybody.